Yeah.
You film, know why? Because I'm the biggest boss you ever seen. You make sure they don't not only play this one time, they play this a week straight.
Before Rick Ross would tell the world about how much of a boss he is and remind his fans that every day is the perfect day to boss up, no, seriously, he's tweeted that pretty much every single morning for the past 4 years. Before he would break the record for ringtone sales with his first single, Hustlin.
One of the biggest keys to that is empowering your circle, empowering your family. Because you being rich and everybody else being broke next to you is only gonna be so long before you jammed up.
Before Rick Ross would hold his own lyrically with some of the best in the game, from Jay-Z to Andre 3 Stacks. Before he would team up with Drake for Ross's 2 highest charting singles on Billboard, I'm On One and Money in the Grave, and their introspective classics, Gold Roses, Free Spirit, Lord Knows, Aston Martin Music, and more.
I'm good at, making things bounce back.
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we can make that happen.
You know what I mean?
Little Bel Air Rose.
Salud.
And before Rose would have over 4.5 million followers on Twitter and more than 10 million followers on Instagram at the time of this recording.
Not too bad.
The next bar mitzvah you have in your family, I'll be there.
No way.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you over the menu.
I would have loved to have had Rick Ross perform at my bar mitzvah, but Rick Ross grew up hustling with dreams of one day going #1 and making Aston Martin music. When he was 16 though, he was playing football, but he would stay scheming to push it to the next level. But how did he go from being a kid by the port of Miami with a dream of being the boss to flying out to Santorini, Greece and pulling up in a purple Lamborghini? Well, you clicked on the right video. Ross has had one of the more interesting careers in rap. In a world where authenticity is crucial, Ross has been able to overcome controversies with his past simply by putting out great music. Whether it's been about the origins of his name or a job as a CEO, a lot of Rick Ross's life has been put into question, but 10 albums and a couple of near-death experiences later, he is still putting out hits and he's still a captivating voice within hip-hop. But we're gonna go through all of that in this video. What's going on, good people in the comment section? I hope you're having one heck of a day. My name is Jeremy Hecht, and if you're new here and wondering who I am the LA host for this channel, bringing you weekly content. Shout out to everybody watching after school, on their lunch break from work, lying in their bed too lazy to get up for the day yet, and of course, my toilet gang, and shout out to the Fame gang who have their notifications on and are here early. This is an updated version of Ross's bio. We've recently done updated versions on YG, A Boogie, Wiz Khalifa, and more, so be sure to check those out after you finish watching this one. But before we start, I've got a trivia question for you fans out there. What's the name of Ross's most recent kid? He's got a great name, and it is quintessentially Rick Ross to name him what he did. So leave your guesses in the comments down below, and I will see you guys after the intro. While William Leonard Roberts II has become one of Miami's biggest ambassadors, he was actually born on January 28, 1976 in Mississippi. It was there that he spent the first handful of his early years, but as a child he moved to Carol City, Florida, where he was raised. Carol City became the place that shaped him. Speaking about the differences between the two areas, he said, "It always made me see the world from so many different aspects. I saw the fast life of Miami, but I also saw the slow countryside of a small country town with a small population. I heard the struggles." Carol City is a very impoverished area, but it's actually the home to some pretty big names in hip-hop like Flo Rida, Gunplay, Denzel Curry, and Space Ghost Perp. Early on, Ross would dream about a better life, and after seeing one of his friend's dads pull up in a Mercedes, he made a pact with himself that he would do whatever it takes to get himself a Benz one day. As a kid, he was inspired by people like Biggie and Luther Campbell, but his parents also would play a lot of vinyl records in the household, which inspired some of his more R&B sounding records today. Ross wrote his first rap over one of those vinyl instrumentals. Growing up, Ross had a job working at a car wash making $30 a day, and he would actually wash the expensive cars of a lot of the local drug dealers, which served as more inspiration. Ross attended Miami Carol City Senior High School, where he played football and graduated. His high school nickname was, no surprise here, Big Boss. And then he headed to Albany State University on a football scholarship and studied criminal justice. But it was in college that he began taking music more seriously and lost interest in academics. He rapped from the persona of a drug dealer who was running the streets, something that he fantasized about as a child. Roberts was rapping under the name Teflon Da Don and made his Suave House Records debut on a feature for Eric Sermon's song Ain't Sh to Discuss. In the mid-2000s, he changed his rap name to Rick Ross, which, there's some controversy over, but the name was basically taken from former drug kingpin Freeway Rick Ross, and Freeway Ricky reportedly made close to $1 billion selling coke. But when he found out that this guy from Florida used his name and maybe some of his story, he was pretty pissed and he sued. Eventually the case was thrown out and Rick Ross actually won, which allowed him to keep his name. Ross signed to Slip and Slide Records and toured with Trick Daddy. His first official single under the label was Hustlin, which put him on the map, and the song became gold and rose to number 11 on the charts. He told the New Miami Times, "I wrote that song in about an hour on some good kush." Well, you know, nothing you can't accomplish in an hour with some good kush, am I right?
I like green. Yeah, it represents grass, money, marijuana, trees, growth.
Everyone saw the potential in Ross after his first single, and the biggest names in hip hop were battling to sign the boss. Diddy, Irv Gotti, and Jay-Z all placed their bids, but in the end, Hov came out on top like he usually does. He signed Ross to Def Jam with a multi-million-dollar deal. His debut album, Port of Miami, was released in August of 2006 and debuted at #1 on the US Billboard 200 chart, selling nearly 200K albums in its first week. Ross became close with fellow Miami native DJ Khaled, and they teamed up together for multiple collabs. In 2008, just when it seemed like everything was going as planned for Ross, some controversy sparked. Media Takeout released a picture of a young Ross in uniform, and it wasn't his high school football jersey, it was a picture of Roberts working as a correctional officer. At first, Ross denied it was him in the picture, saying, "Online hackers put my face when I was a teenager in high school on other people's body. If this shit was real, don't you think they would have more specifics like dates and everything?" But the evidence he asked for came shortly afterwards. Evidence was found that Ross worked there for 18 months from December of 1995 until he resigned in June of 1997, when he was making a salary of around $25,000 per year. He graduated from the DOC Training Academy, which included the completion of 540 hours of training, and was assigned to the South Florida Reception Center in Dade County. As you can guess, hip hop had a pretty strong reaction. In a genre that had NWA screaming "F the police" and Jay-Z referring to his negative interactions with cops on 99 Problems, you can bet that many people were skeptical of Ross's past. I don't think that people would have been as upset at his past if he came out from the beginning mentioning it, and if he wasn't claiming to be living the life of a drug-dealing street lord in his music. The dissonance between the two lifestyles just seemed a little suspicious, and people began to question whether any of what Ross said on records was true.
What this is talking about.
That particular line really just most definitely referred to, me being a CO, that being a job, and just understanding the grind and the hustle, and anything else I may have done. It's just a job.
But while all of this was going on in January 2008, Ross was actually arrested on gun and marijuana charges. 8 months later, he was sued by DJ Vlad, who claimed Ross attacked him when he started asking him about the correctional officer stuff. Vlad ended up having a broken eye socket, a broken nose, and nerve damage, so at least we know Ross can fight. And Vlad was given $300,000 in damage after that. I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't the first person who's tried to fight Vlad. But fighting with Vlad, that's one thing. Fighting with the most notorious troll in the rap game is a whole nother battle. 50 Cent was never one to back down from a battle and was often the one to instigate them, so he didn't seem to be too afraid of Rick Ross. It was all love at first between the two rap moguls, as 50 congratulated Ross on his #1 album.
It's been told that there was a sort of beef between you and 50 Cent.
Is it a beef?
But Ross became upset that apparently 50 Cent looked at him a certain way at the 2008 BET Awards, and even though 50 Cent claimed to not remember Rick Ross being there, which is classic 50, it did spark something in Ross. And I guess Ross decided there might actually be some beef, and on Mafia Music threw some shots at 50 Cent. 50 was probably delighted to hear the diss, as he seems to get actually excited about beef. He decided to lean all the way into Ross's past and release songs, got Ross's baby mom involved, and created a full-on cartoon show called Officer Ricky.
Rick, bro, I'ma f your life up.
50 is an absolute psychopath. That's the only way I can describe it. The way he was so calm and maniacal talking about that whole beef is hilarious. And even today, in 2019, the two are going back and forth. Do you guys think this beef will ever end? Let me know in the comments down below. But ultimately, whether you think 50 won in terms of pettiness and creativity, Ross kept making an impact in the game, and he did it solely through great music. He kept putting out hits. Ross went on a run of singles, videos, albums, and features that most rappers can't match in terms of catalog. In 2009, he dropped Deeper Than Rap, which included Maybach Music 2, and the album reached #1 on the US Billboard 200, so it seems like 50 wasn't slowing down Ross's sales. He followed that up with what many consider to be his best album, Teflon Don, which included Aston Martin music with Drake and Freemason with Jay-Z, which, in my opinion, is Ross's best verse of all time. In a close second, I have his verse on Kanye's Devil in a New Dress. What do you guys think is his best verse? Ross kept putting out bodies of work that impressed fans year after year, and his name kept being solidified in the game, but always working that hard can catch up to you. In October of 2011, Ross suffered 2 seizures, and 6 months later he had another one, being hospitalized in Alabama. He took it as a sign that he needed to do something to prioritize his health above all, and he ended up dropping 90 pounds, which doctors say saved his life. But his health continues to be a problem. In 2018, Ross suffered a heart attack and was placed on life support, worrying a lot of fans and industry people, including myself. I remember seeing that news and being like, is he gonna be okay? So wishing Ross nothing but the best in terms of his health, and I hope that that doesn't continue to be a problem. In September of 2015, Ross proposed to his then 22-year-old girlfriend, Lyra Galore, with an 11-carat, 350K ring. But in the end, the engagement was called off, although it seems like there's nothing but love, at least from Ross's end.
Is it love? Of course it's love there. I got nothing but love for it, you know what I mean? At all times. That's, you know what I'm saying, that's forever.
Ross has 4 children, with his most recent baby being born last year with his girlfriend, Brianna Camille. His son's name is Billion Roberts. That kid is born to be great, and there's no doubt about it. And there you have the answer to the question from the beginning of the video. Also hilarious. I feel like Ross, that would be the name that he would choose for his kid. I'm surprised it took him 4 kids to name one. Billion. But most recently, Ross dropped his album Port of Miami 2, bringing things full circle in his career, and it seems like Ross will continue his run. But as for the rest of the video, that's all I got for you. Let me know who you want me to cover next in the comments down below. I'll try to make as many of those videos for you as I can. Also follow me on Instagram. We can talk about this video, future videos, dream good, live better. I'll see you in the next video, and if nobody's told you yet today, I love you. Peace.